Imagine having 1,000 pieces of evidence scattered across devices and platforms. This is similar to what we are solving here. First of all, in this problem, the first issue is the scale of information that we have, and it is scattered across social media platforms, metadata from images, conversation histories, etc. And second is the fragmentation. It is not in one platform to analyze it, and that leads to the third problem, which is the speed of analyzation. So, somewhere inside all this information is something that could protect a child. But the challenge is no longer collecting the evidence, but piecing it immediately from all the fragments that makes it easier for them to take a decision quickly enough. So, a timestamp may be hidden in one image that we get, might be leading on to another conversation somewhere else in another platform. And piecing this all together requires a sophisticated agentic AI system. And this is our solution, Agentic Child Protection Investigation Assistant. This is not an AI detective and it does not make the decisions. Instead, it analyzes these large volumes of digital evidence and it connects the information across these multiple sources, which leads to like reconstructing the timeline and identifying patterns that might um, be of importance in the review. And the review process is fully human oriented and not automated. So it we have integrated an explainable AI that gives the evidence with explanations to the officers, and they can um, decide whether to accept it or not. So it's a fully human review platform. The goal is to reduce the time investigators spend searching across these sources, collecting the evidence, and automating that process and giving them the evidence found through the analysis with the explanation as to why. And they can fully decide whether to treat it as a good evidence or a false detection. So the first agent that we have is ingestion and normalization agent, which collects and normalizes these evidences from devices, then the applications, social media platforms, and multimedia, and presents it as a unified format. And then we have the content understanding agent that performs the object detection OCR, text to speech conversions, and extracts all the metadata such as names, locations, timestamps, uh, etc. through Tesseract OCR. And the fourth one is the correlation agent. Um, it makes a contextual meaning out of all this unstructured data, linking accounts, devices, then the emails, phone numbers, etc., that have been extracted by the entity layer. It's responsible for finding a relationship between all these different sources and making a pattern out of it. Then we have the timeline agent, which reconstructs all this in a chronological order that makes sense of each metadata that is extracted. So we analyze the timestamps to make it into a specific pattern. Then the activity pattern agent detects some of these escalation trends like repeated communication patterns or account switching uh, that was um, maybe in a very hasty manner or geographic movement across devices. Then we have the media forensics agent, which extracts the metadata, then flags it for potentially manipulated content using AI or synthetic media. Now, all of this last comes to the investigator copilot, which is the NLP layer, and it uh, makes up for the explainable AI layer, which collects all these evidence, and each evidence that was flagged, it gives an explainable context to it that can be later processed for review. So this is making sure that all the detections have a human review at the end and are not automatically automated as a whole process. So only after the human review will it be considered for full automation. Every action on the evidence that is presented is logged using blockchain so that the data remains secure inside the system. And that's why we have an audit log. So it is fully blockchain integrated, and each evidence would be logged using using an immutable hash using blockchain. And moving on to the technology stack, technically the agentic child protection investigation assistant is built entirely using a zero cost open source stack. We use LangGraph for orchestration, Fast API for the backend, Llama 3 and Quen 2.5 for the explainable AI. Um, then we have Tesseract OZR and YOLO for object detection, um, and ChromaDB for semantic search. Neo4j and NetworkX for analyzing the evidence graph, and TimeSketch for the timeline, uh, an EXIF tool, a backticker, and Topsy for the forensics. So the front end is an React, and the hash chain audit is to preserve the forensic integrity. So the agentic child protection investigation agent never produces verdicts. It just produces the leads, and it leaves the review for humans to decide. So it's just making the task easier instead of fully automating the process. AI is just for gapping the distance between the hidden evidence and the people who can act on them. And we are just trying to make it easier for the investigators to collect the evidence so that they can review it for automation.